Candace Owens has done the unthinkable. She's calling for Trump's removal from office, what is quite possibly the largest and loudest voice in the conservative movement, has completely turned on Trump. I'm going to dive into why she is saying that Trump is actually satanic, needs to be removed. She's calling on foreign world leaders to get involved. This, of course, coming after Donald Trump's deranged Easter message. So I'm going to share that. Plus, Alex Jones is also speaking up against Trump, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's a wild time to be alive. This is absolute insanity, folks. I'm Dave Neal here, host of the Rush Hour podcast, and this is a bonus lunchtime episode here. How about this? Piers Morgan chiming in. So if you didn't catch this news, Donald Trump posted Tuesday will be power plant day and bridge day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the effing strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump. Now, Piers Morgan responded, "This is embarrassing. Delete it, President Trump, unless you want everyone to think you've lost your marbles." There are plenty of people that have tried to play both sides of the coin with the MAGA movement, with Donald Trump, saying, well, let's see how his ideas play out. Piers Morgan was like, hey, let's see how tariffs work. He's a businessman, complete nonsense. Candace Owens has been so busy fighting her other fights that she hasn't been too extremely political. I know that doesn't sound right, but it's actually true. Candace has been dealing with the Brigitte Macron issue. She's been dealing with Charlie Kirk's death. It isn't until recently that she's really distanced herself from Donald Trump. She said a few months ago, MAGA no longer, is something I'm a part of, whatever. But this is absolutely like no going back. And Candace Owens posted this. This is a satanic administration. We all realize that satanic Zionists occupy the White House, and Congress needs to move to have the Mad King Trump removed. All of our lives may depend upon other countries realizing that Trump is deeply unwell and surrounded by religious fanatics who have convinced him that he is a messiah. We are in uncharted territory. Leaders worldwide need to act accordingly. Now, Candace has been accused of being anti-Semitic in the past, and I'm not here to defend things that she has said. This comment came in, though. I haven't seen a post more anti-Semitic than this in my entire time of being on Twitter, and I've seen a lot of them. Now, I don't know if this is anti-Semitic. I don't know even the definition of Zionist anymore. It means so many different things. Some use it as a slur. Some say, well, it's basically just those that believe that Israel has a right to be a state. And there's probably a million definitions in between. So I'm not even going to pretend to define what that means. But what we do know is there is a pro-Israeli government movement that exists within the White House, right? We know from the folks that are like literally the ambassador to Israel to people like Lindsey Graham and so many others. They take money from AIPAC, which is an Israeli-American lobby group that wants to, get American politicians to act in alliance with things that Israel wants, which would be fine if it wasn't about a war that we don't need to be a part of, right? So that's what this is all about is, have we been walked into a war we cannot get out of now? $2 billion a day. You know my opinion on this, which is absolutely yes. And I reject any calls of me or anyone else being called anti-Semitic because we're against a war we have no part in, the war that is built on lies. Joe Kent, of course, resigned, the highest level of intelligence to resign, I think, in any war, resigned, saying, look, 18 agencies all agreed that Iran was not close to having a nuclear weapon. That was the false premise for the war. Now they, of course, closed up the Strait of Hormuz, which is going to lead to skyrocketing oil prices. It's happening literally now and in the weeks to come. Oil is up 60%. People couldn't already afford a $300 emergency payment. Now they're going to be adding hundreds of dollars to their gas just so they can drive to work to a job that doesn't even pay them a lot in the first place. So Candace calling out Trump for being surrounded by people that believe he's the Messiah. I'm going to share actually this clip that came, I think this was on Good Friday. Unbelievable stuff. The people that are surrounding Trump, the sort of a drunk power that he's on, thinking he can wipe out a country of 80, 90 million people, and they're comparing Trump to Jesus.
Mr. President, no one has paid the price like you have paid the price. So true. It almost cost you your life. You were betrayed and arrested.
This lady's haircut betrayed her, I'll tell you that. That is a Karen haircut. No offense to the Karens out there. We love you. But yeah, listen, comparing Donald Trump to Jesus Christ is insane. I'll make the comparison to people like Zoran Mamdani to Jesus Christ, someone who's not even Christian. There are more atheist leaders like Bernie Sanders, a Jewish man from Brooklyn, that are acting more like Jesus Christ than many of the Christians are in office. Where is helping your neighbor? Where is helping the foreigner, the stranger? Jesus Christ was friends with, people that worked as sex workers and people that had lepers and people with disease. And Jesus Christ was all about flipping the tables of those that were making money off of the church. And folks that are in the cult of MAGA will, pick cherry quoted parts of the Bible to claim that no, Jesus, Christ never said that, he was actually for this or for that, which is insane. It's absolutely insane as we see the Pope continue to speak out, right? The largest leader in any Christian church, the Catholic Church here, we have the Pope speaking out saying, no, anyone who's trying to do wars, even if they're saying they're doing wars for peace, their prayers will not be answered. So we have Marjorie Taylor Greene, again, who has been, she's, say what you want about her, because there's plenty I disagree with her on, but she is part of this new America First movement, this movement that is separating from MAGA. And she says on Easter morning, this is what Trump posted. Everyone in his administration that claims to be a Christian needs to fall on their knees and beg forgiveness from God and stop worshiping the president and intervene in Trump's madness. I know all of you and him, and he has gone insane, and all of you are complicit. And Trump is insane. I don't know if he went insane or if he's just showing his true colors as Epstein files got closer to being released. He makes claims that the retribution is, he believes that retribution for all of his enemies is valid. And in going to war, I'm probably thinking it's going to change his poll numbers, even though this is the most unpopular war that has ever been started in our country. And wars only go down in popularity over time as more bodies return. And we have in the afternoon episode of the Rush Hour podcast, there is now questions as to whether or not the United States even lost one of those military members when their plane was shot down. The question now is, was that a sort of fake story in order for a special operations movement to go down onto the ground in Iran? Look, I understand, the war, they say, oh, war is foggy, whatever. Look, maybe if we were attacked and we're in this dogfight, sure. I always look at like a scuffle like you have in a baseball game where both, teams clear their benches, the pitchers are fighting each other, the umps are trying to pull people off. This is a war where our bench was cleared when we were not hit by a ball. Does that make sense? To use my baseball analogy, we were not hit by a ball. We went to war. We charged the mound because we thought the other team might hit us with the ball. So we were proactively charging the mound. And I'm sorry, in any other circumstance, that's not how it works. You can't punch a guy because he looked at you the wrong way. You can't do that. So Marjorie Taylor Greene continues, I'm not defending Iran, but let's be honest about all of this. The strait is closed because the U.S. and Israel started the unprovoked war against Iran based on the same nuclear lies they've been telling for decades, that any moment Iran would develop a nuclear weapon. You know who has nuclear weapons? Israel. And they don't admit that, but they do. They are more than capable of defending themselves without the U.S. having to fight their wars, kill innocent people and children, and pay for it. Trump threatened to bomb power plants and bridges, hurts the Iranian people. The very people Trump claimed he was freeing. On Easter, of all days, we as Christians should be reminded that the Son of God died and rose from the grave so that we can be forgiven once and for all for our sins. Jesus commanded us to love one another and forgive one another, even our enemies. Our president is not a Christian, and his words and actions should not be supported by Christians. Christians in the administration should be pursuing peace, urging the president to make peace, not escalating war that is hurting people. This not what we promised the American people when they overwhelmingly voted in 2024. I know, I was there more than most. This is not making America great again. This is evil. Now, I would argue that if the people knew what Trump was actually for, he would have never won the election, right? He lied. They thought he was going to deport violent criminals. He didn't think that he was going to rip apart everyone like standing in line to get, day labor jobs from Home Depot, or, go into daycares, or, they didn't think that Trump was going to do that. And so this idea that, Trump won by a plurality, right? They say that he had some sort of, a divine, there's some divine, he won by so many votes that he can just do what he wants. And that's the Trump plan, right? That's the Trump plan, is to grab America by its pussy, right? These are Trump's words, and do what he wants because he thinks he got enough votes. And when it comes time to whether or not Trump pulls the trigger and uses the nuclear codes to wipe out a country, will the right people be in place to stop him? That's the question. Because we can look at Trump's tweets and go, oh, that was a bad tweet. Delete that tweet. You don't get to delete firing a nuclear weapon. That's it, right? And he's really damaged just like decades of what I think is goodwill attempts by America. Now, there's plenty that America's done wrong with regime change wars, and we've got our allies into wars and all of that. So I don't disagree with that. But whatever America had going for it is so wiped out at this point that the whole world has reworked its trading routes because of tariffs, because of now oil being shut down from major parts of the world. You've got Canada doing deals with China, leaving America out. You've got China, Iran, Russia now, so of course, supporting Cuba. So we have miles from our own border. Russia coming in to help out. We had to remove sanctions from all of the oil that was locked up because, in order to keep prices down, which made Russia earn billions and billions of dollars, which fuels their war. So nothing that is going on is helping Americans at all. And how about this? Rachel Scott posted. People were wondering, did Trump even tweet this? She said, spoke with President Trump. He told me the conflict should be over in days, not weeks. But if no deal is made, he's blowing up the whole country with very little off the table. If happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, we're blowing up the whole country. I asked if there's anything off limits. Very little. How Trumpian is that? Very little is off limits, whether you like it or not. If you're new to my channel, I've actually come from the world of Bachelor Nation. I made content based on pop culture, Bachelor Nation, and then in the last couple of years, we've transitioned into more political commentary. I'm a stand-up comedian. I like to have fun and tell jokes, but this is a serious time. I don't get to do my job if the economy is sunken. I don't get to do my job if we are at war, if we're doing something that we cannot turn back from, escalating into a war. So we're using our platform as best as we can to continue to speak out. If this resonates with you, feel free to hit the like button, share with a friend, leave a comment. Best thing you can do for the algorithm is watch it in its entirety and, keep on commenting, hit the subscribe button. We're here on average twice a day, every morning and every afternoon. I'm going to try to do these lunchtime videos as well. I used to work a day job where I had to kind of, work by myself, and I always put a YouTube video on at lunch, so I just had something to keep me company while I was eating a cold sandwich by myself. So I call these mealtime length videos. I try to time them around 15 minutes. So if you enjoy my company and would like me to join you on your meal today at lunch, leave a comment below. Let me know what you do for work, and we'll talk to you guys this afternoon. Until then, I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.